The global drug trade represents a vast network of supply chains, financial transactions, and socio-political dynamics that spans continents and cultures. As a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, it operates both in the shadows and in plain sight, affecting lives and shaping economies. This video delves into the intricacies of this clandestine world, exploring the routes drugs take, the risks involved in the trade, and the global efforts to combat these illegal activities. Join us on a journey into the depths of the drug trade, where risk meets necessity and enforcement battles against ever-evolving strategies. Major drug-producing regions. The global drug trade is heavily influenced by several major drug-producing regions, each known for specific types of narcotics. In Latin America, particularly in countries like Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, coca plants are cultivated extensively, making these areas the world's primary source of cocaine. The Golden Triangle, encompassing parts of Laos, Thailand, and Myanmar, is infamous for its opium production, which is often processed into heroin for international markets. Similarly, the Golden Crescent, which includes Afghanistan, Iran, and Pakistan, remains one of the largest producers of opium and heroin globally. Additionally, regions like Mexico have become notorious for the production of methamphetamine and marijuana, servicing largely the demand from the United States. Key trafficking routes. Key trafficking routes for drugs are complex and multifaceted, reflecting both geographic and political realities. Cocaine, primarily produced in Colombia, Peru, and Bolivia, typically travels via land through Central America and Mexico before reaching the United States, or across the Atlantic to Europe via West Africa, an area that has become a significant transshipment point due to its relatively porous borders and weak governance. Heroin from the Golden Crescent and Golden Triangle follows historic trade routes through the Balkans to Europe, known as the Balkan Route, and through Iran and Turkey, known as the Southern Route. Additionally, synthetic drugs from Southeast Asia often find their way to global markets through intricate networks that use both direct shipment and drop shipping methods to evade detection. These routes are continuously evolving as traffickers adapt to law enforcement strategies, shifting political alliances and market demand, making the fight against drug trafficking a dynamic and ever-changing challenge. The role of narco-states. Narco-states, or countries where government institutions and economies are heavily influenced by drug trafficking operations, play a crucial role in the global drug trade. In these regions, political and law enforcement entities are often corrupted by the vast capital generated from the illegal drug market, compromising their ability to enforce the law impartially. This corruption enables drug cartels and trafficking networks to operate with significant impunity, using these countries as safe havens for drug production, warehousing, and transshipment. Venezuela and Guinea-Bissau, for instance, have been identified as narco-states where drug money infiltrates political campaigns, judicial systems, and law enforcement agencies, eroding the rule of law and facilitating the unchecked expansion of drug trafficking activities. The existence of narco-states complicates international efforts to combat the global drug trade, as these countries often lack the political will or capability to effectively partner in global anti-drug efforts. Financial underpinnings. The financial underpinnings of the global drug trade are integral to its persistence and proliferation. Drug trafficking is immensely profitable, generating billions of dollars annually in illicit revenue. This vast flow of money is crucial for the operation and expansion of drug cartels and trafficking networks, enabling them to bribe officials, purchase sophisticated weaponry, and fund their logistics operations. However, the large sums of money generated also necessitate complex money laundering schemes to integrate these funds into the legitimate global financial system. Traffickers often utilize shell companies, offshore bank accounts, and high-value asset purchases to disguise the origins of their illicit earnings. Human cost. The human cost of the global drug trade is staggering, affecting millions of lives across various dimensions. At the production level, farmers in developing countries often cultivate drug-producing crops out of economic necessity, facing potential violence from both drug cartels and government forces. The trafficking routes are fraught with peril, involving vulnerable individuals who may be coerced into smuggling under the threat of severe penalties or violence. Furthermore, the distribution and consumption stages see widespread social issues, including addiction, overdose deaths, and the breakup of families. Communities plagued by high levels of drug trafficking experience increased crime rates, corruption, and a general degradation of quality of life. Drug cartels and networks. Drug cartels and criminal networks are at the heart of the global drug trade, orchestrating the cultivation, manufacture, distribution, and sale of illegal substances across the world. These organizations are highly structured and operate with ruthless efficiency, often employing violence and intimidation to maintain control over their territories and supply chains. Notorious cartels such as Mexico's Sinaloa and Jalisco New Generation have become infamous for their brutal tactics and expansive operations that reach far beyond their national borders. These groups leverage corruption, technology, and sophisticated logistics to navigate around law enforcement efforts and service their global customer base. The influence of these cartels extends into local and national politics, where they can manipulate power structures to favor their business interests. The operations of these cartels not only fuel the drug trade, but also contribute to a cycle of violence and instability that impacts countries worldwide. Enforcement strategies. Enforcement strategies against the global drug trade are complex and multifaceted, involving local, national, and international efforts to disrupt the activities of drug cartels and trafficking networks. These strategies include aggressive interdiction operations aimed at seizing drugs and arresting key figures within the trafficking chains. On the borders, advanced surveillance technologies, such as drones and heat-sensing cameras, are employed to monitor for illegal crossings that may involve drug smuggling. Internationally, countries collaborate through organizations like Interpol and the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime to share intelligence and coordinate anti-drug operations. Additionally, there is a growing emphasis on following the money to dismantle the financial networks that support drug cartels. This approach involves tracking and seizing assets derived from drug trafficking and prosecuting money laundering activities. Legalization debates. The debates surrounding drug legalization have intensified as nations grapple with the consequences of the global drug trade. Proponents of legalization argue that it could significantly reduce the power of drug cartels and the violence associated with trafficking by removing the profit incentives in the black market. Legalization could also allow for regulated, safer distribution and the potential to redirect law enforcement resources towards prevention and rehabilitation rather than punishment. Countries like Portugal and Canada have experimented with decriminalization and legalization of certain drugs, which has led to important public health insights and a reduction in drug-related harm. Opponents, however, caution that legalization might lead to increased usage and social acceptance of drugs, potentially escalating public health issues. They also stress the importance of international treaties and the complexities of making such a shift within the framework of global drug policy. Technological advances in trafficking. Technological advances have significantly shaped the landscape of drug trafficking, providing both new tools for drug cartels and challenges for law enforcement. Traffickers have harnessed the power of the internet to expand their reach, using the dark web to sell drugs anonymously and cryptocurrencies to launder money without detection. Additionally, drones are increasingly used for smuggling drugs across borders, allowing traffickers to bypass traditional checkpoints and barriers. Encrypted communications through apps and internet services provide a secure means for traffickers to coordinate operations and evade wiretaps and surveillance. On the flip side, these technological advancements also offer opportunities for law enforcement to innovate in their tactics. For instance, artificial intelligence and big data analytics are being deployed to predict trafficking patterns and identify key nodes in the supply chains. However, as technology evolves, so does the cat-and-mouse game between traffickers and the authorities, continually changing the dynamics of the global drug trade. That's all for today's video. If this video has deepened your understanding or sparked your interest, please like, subscribe, and share this video to help raise awareness about these critical issues. Engage with us in the comments section below to share your thoughts or insights on how the world can better combat the challenges posed by the global drug trade.